Hi, everyone. I am Caroline Chang, the host and producer of Awake to Oneness Radio. And I have a PowerPoint presentation to share. So I am going to share my screen. Also, this one has audio. So I have to also share sound. Okay. All right. The title of my PowerPoint, I just always got to find the right button to push. Okay. The title is My Journey to Healing with Kyle. Okay. Okay. Who we are sovereign, unique, holographic, multidimensional, divine beings of light. Now, that's a big description because each one of those words are really important. And I have some illustrations on this slide to illustrate what holographic means. One of my favorite quotes is by Rumi. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. In essence, what Rumi is saying, you're not just a part of God, are a piece of God. You are all of God in a drop. Just like if you think about our cells in our body, we have trillions and trillions of cells. And if a person took a microscopic cell from your body, they can actually clone an identical you because all of you is in that microscopic cell of you. And so the universe is holographic. All that is source is holographic, meaning we are all aspects, complete and whole aspects of God, all that is source, whatever universe, whatever name you want to give it. So I think that's very important to understand because people will say, oh yeah, I'm a part of God or a piece of God, but they don't understand that they're all of God in a drop. Okay, our physical senses as our human body has five senses. And we have a body, we're not our body, but our five senses are extremely limited. Everything that resonates with me is also backed up by science. And science has proven that humans can detect 0.4% of what is actually around them. So that's it's very tiny. We know by instruments, scientific instruments, we know there are all kind of microwave, X-rays, all kind of waves and signals that we cannot detect with our human senses. So when a person says, I only believe in what I can see, hear, taste, touch, or smell, that means they are negating almost everything else that is surrounding them that they cannot detect with their five senses. Okay, mind versus heart intelligence. I love heart math. I'm not sure if you're familiar with heart math, but it is an organization that has done extensive scientific study on the heart versus the mind intelligence. We don't think of the heart as being intelligent, but these studies that heart math has done proves that the heart is far more intelligent than the mind. Now, the reason being is that our mind, our brain, works off of our five limited senses. So again, we go back to those senses that are human senses, which are very limited. But our heart intelligence comes from our spiritual knowing, our higher self knowing, which is infinite wisdom. So I always say that intellect comes from the brain, but wisdom, which is infinite and all knowing, wisdom comes from your heart. And also, let me say while we're on this slide, For me personally, I live my life by my heart guidance. And when I listen to my heart, it's an inspiration and it gives me the first step to take. But I don't know the second step because your heart won't tell you the second step until you take the first step. So in essence, I let my heart be the driver. I think of my body as a vehicle and like a car. I have a car, I have a body, but I am not the body. And so I let my heart be the driver in the driver's seat. I put my mind, my ego mind in my brain in the passenger seat. Sometimes, and I like to say this, sometimes I tell my mind, my ego brain to go in the back seat because I'm living my life from the heart center. And it's a when you do that, you actually do not know where you're going, but you know that it's going to be all good. It's going to be great. Okay. We judge things. We judge from our limited five senses. So there's so much more happening spiritually. There's so much more happening in the universe from a universal perspective than our limited human perspective. But we judge just by those human senses. So we'll say somebody's good or somebody's bad or something is good or something is bad, and we judge from our limited senses. And when we understand that our judgment as human beings is very limited, we have to look at things at a broader, bigger perspective. And when you understand that it is all one, there is truly no good or bad. And that's very hard for the human brain to wrap itself around. But in truth, there is only one, there is only God, there is only source, all that is. And whatever we label bad or evil, that is also a part of source and all that is. So here's my favorite symbol of oneness. This symbol of oneness is showing that the light and the dark are equal. So they're not, one is not over more than the other. So again, goes back to knowing that source is all that is. There is nothing outside of source. And we individually have our shadow side, and collectively, humanity collectively also has a shadow side. But it is not a us versus them kind of a thing. It's not light versus dark or dark versus light. It is, they're one. And what we want to do is to transform the shadow. We want to transform the shadow within us, and we want to transform the shadow which is in humanity as a whole. And the only way to transform it is to shine the light on it. The more light you shine on it will transform it back to light, because everything comes from source. Right now we are in a dream of our own creation, and people are playing roles. People have come into this life experience playing the role of a shadow role. People have come in playing the role of light, but it's still truly all one. When we understand oneness and unity, there is no separation. It's all source. And to transform shadow back to light, it's a transformation of inclusion, not separation. Our greatest challenges in our life are our biggest blessings, are our greatest blessings. We actually have set up challenges before we came into this life experience. Remember, going back to who we truly are, we are sovereign divine beings of light. And before we came into this life experience, which we are creating, we set up challenges for ourselves. We set up challenges for ourselves for us to remember who we are. Because in those challenges, we wake up more and more to who we truly are. So, our greatest challenges, and from a human perspective, people would say, this is crazy to think I set this up for myself. But you have, remember how limited your human senses are. No, you don't remember that you set this up for yourself, but you did. So, and you did it for your highest good and the highest good of all. My journey with my son Kyle. This was my greatest challenge in this lifetime. My son Kyle was born on November 24th, 1984, and he transitioned on July 1st, 2014. He was 29 years old. Now, I say he transitioned because there is no such thing as death. When you know who you truly are, there is no such thing as death. So you know that all there is eternal life. Now, my son lived a very healthy 26 years. When he was 26 years old, he was diagnosed with congestive heart failure, and doctors had no reason. They could not say why his heart was so weak. I instinctively kind of knew as a mom because he was born with a hole in his heart. Now, when he was born, doctors said it's very common. It's called a heart murmur, and it's very common. And it children outgrow it within 1 or 2 years. So, like I said, he was extremely healthy, extremely active little boy. Always, I mean, running here and there. He never hardly even had a cold as a child. He was the healthiest child that anyone could have, and active, very active. He played football. He's a very big guy. He played football in high school. Now, when he was diagnosed in February of 2011, I, even though doctors said they couldn't understand why his heart was so weak, I, as a mother, just figured it must have stemmed from the fact that the hole he was born with never closed completely, and even a cold, even if you have a cold, your heart could get infected and get weak. So at the end of that year, like he was diagnosed early in 2011. Towards the end of the year, matter of fact, it was the night before his birthday. So it was November 23rd of 2011, where he had to be taken to the hospital because he was having trouble breathing. And it turned out that he had pneumonia. And it got so bad that on his birthday, which was actually also Thanksgiving Day that year, his birthday falls on Thanksgiving Day, I think every 5 or 6 years, something like that. He's a Thanksgiving baby, which is my favorite holiday. and but he so on his birthday, Thanksgiving Day that year, he was put on life support and medevac to a hospital 2 hours away in Philadelphia. It's actually the hospital he was medevac to is one of the top 10 hospitals in the country for heart transplant. So he's medevac, and a friend of mine drives me down to the hospital. They don't let you ride in the helicopter. So someone drove me to the hospital, and I stayed there. I stayed in his ICU room while he was on life support. So after a few weeks, the doctors asked me to come out of his ICU room into a waiting room off to the side, because they did this because doctors also know, even though a patient is unconscious, and they can hear what's going on in the room. So they asked me to step aside to a different room to ask me if they could take him off life support because they didn't think he was going to make it. They thought his heart was too weak for him to overcome pneumonia. The pneumonia, they felt he wouldn't survive. I said no. I said no. I will not give my permission to have him taken off life support. But what I was thinking, and not saying, but what I was thinking was, I'm not going through this experience. I know, and here's the thing. I was fully awake to who I am as a divine being of light. I knew I was creating this experience, nobody else. I knew that this was happening through me, not to me. Um, but I decided, no, I am not going through this. So I went upstairs to a different floor. I actually knew that hospital inside and out because I've been living there for weeks. So I just, would take breaks from his room and just walk around the hospital to get the lay of the land, as they say. So I knew of this little waiting room that was always empty. Nobody was ever in there. I would go there and meditate most days. Every morning, I would go to this little quiet waiting room and meditate. But I went there this time knowing that I was going to end my life. I wasn't, I had a bottle of over the counter sleeping pills because I didn't have a prescription, and that was the strongest I could find in the pharmacy. So I had a bottle of over the counter sleeping pills, a bottle of water, and a paper and a pad. And I wrote a suicide note. I said, I am not going to bury my son. My son is going to bury me. Give him my heart. And I took the bottle of sleeping pills and just laid down on the sofa thinking I would not wake up. So I say unconscious for, I would say close to 2 days, something of that nature. I'm not sure. I do remember waking up slightly, coming to conscious slightly in the ICU room where Kyle's doctor was at the foot of my bed. I could barely see him because I could barely open my eyes, but I heard his voice and I knew his voice, so I knew who he was. He said, Kyle needs you. I'll never forget that. And when he said that, my first thoughts is, Kyle's still here. And I'm thinking, then my next thought is, I'm still here too, and I'm not supposed to be. But so then when my vital signs got well enough, they moved me to a regular room up on the top floor. And they put me on 24-hour suicide watch, where there was an aide with me at all times. Even, and sometimes it wasn't always a female aide. Sometimes it was even a male aide. And if I went to the bathroom or took a shower, I had to leave the bathroom door open while I showered and everything, which I understand they were very concerned about me. But they allowed me to visit with Kyle while he was still on life support. I had never given permission to take him off, so he was still on life support. And they allowed me to visit with Kyle for about an hour each day. And the last time I had one of those supervised visits with Kyle while he was on life support, I bent over and got close to his ear, and I whispered in his ear. I said, Kyle, please get better so we can both go home. Now, that night, Kyle pulled himself off life support. He pulled out the ventilator, then he pulled out the feeding tube. When he did that, bells and whistles went off, so the nurses came running. But his vital signs were perfect. And these were the exact words of the same doctor. His name was Dr. Ty. Ty is his first name because I couldn't remember his last. He had a really long last name. But Dr. Ty said to me, it was like Kyle was never even sick from the pneumonia. Now, he still had a weak heart, but the pneumonia just disappeared like it wasn't, like it didn't exist. It was a true medical miracle. He pulled himself off life support, and within a week or so, he and I went home together. And that was a life-changing moment for me, bringing him home. And it was December 30th, 2011, is when I brought him home, the day before New Year's Eve. And he and I rang in the New Year together that year. I promised to God, I said, God, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But I promise you, I will never stop thanking you for this miracle. Never. So now 2.5 years go by where he's ill again. And this time it's not pneumonia, it is his heart. He needs a new heart. And he's taken to the same hospital. This was in April of 2014. And even as the ambulance was taking him to the hospital, I was thanking God. I said, God, I don't know if I'll be able to bring him home this time. I want to, of course I do, but I don't know. But I still thank you. I will not stop thanking you. And I've kept that promise since the day I brought him home in 2011. So he was in the hospital the last 3 months of his life. In the end of May, they did what is called a bridge surgery. They put a pump in his heart. It was 9-hour open heart surgery. And they put a pump in his heart to get him, to see if they could get him to have a heart transplant. And the surgery itself went, as the doctors would say, textbook. The surgery went perfect. But it was a week after the surgery where there were some complications. And from the complications is how Kyle transitioned on July 1st, 2014. And when Kyle transitioned, I was at complete peace. I knew three things. I knew in my heart he wasn't going anywhere. I knew that it was his time. I know that we are sovereign divine beings, and every soul comes into this life experience in perfect divine timing, and every soul leaves this life experience in perfect divine timing. And there is no such thing as too soon. It's all in perfect divine timing. So I knew that, and I knew that it was a soul plan that he and I had made together. Matter of fact, I had been reading 2 books the last month of his life while I was in his ICU room. I was reading Your Soul's Plan and Your Soul's Gift by Robert Schwartz. So that journey was very important to my soul's evolution, and also to was the catalyst for me to do what I came here to do. 6 months after Kyle's transition, I was inspired by spirit, by my higher self in the middle of the night. And what spirit said is just do it. The just do it meant I was thinking about launching an internet radio show. I didn't even know the word podcast at this time, but I was thinking about launching an internet radio show and starting a nonprofit foundation in Kyle's memory. So that night, I woke up, I got on the computer in the middle of the night and Googled, how do you start an internet radio show? How do you start a nonprofit organization? So that night is when Awake to Oneness Radio and the Kyle Foundation was born. Now, Kyle gave me his name before his birth. When I was 8 months pregnant with Kyle, I knew I was having a boy, but I didn't know what I was going to name him. And during the night, in a dream, Kyle whispered the name Kyle to me. I woke up the next morning saying, okay, Kyle. I really didn't know anyone named Kyle, but I was like, okay, I'll go with that. Now, so Kyle's, because he knew that I was going to use his name, not just as his name, but as an acronym. Kyle stands for Keep Your Light Expanding. So it was all a divine plan that he and I had, and he is still very much with me. So as I move on, okay, let me, one more. Okay. Kyle is very much with me, and I have physical proof that I'm going to share with you in this presentation that Kyle is very much with me. The connection continues. Proof Kyle is still right here. I have physical proof, and I will share that with you guys. Okay, now the first sign I got from Kyle was I was looking through his cell phone. I had his cell phone, and this was a few months after he transitioned, and I'm reading his Facebook messages. And in the messages, he was messaging his friends while he was in the hospital. And in one of the message I read, he was writing, he didn't know what to do about the surgery. Because at one point, the surgery was optional, that bridge surgery I talked about earlier. But at one point it was optional, but then as time went on, like I said, he was in the hospital 3 months. As time went on, it wasn't optional. It was an emergency surgery that they had to do to save his life. And like I said, the surgery did go well as far as the surgery went. But he was questioning should he have the surgery or not, and he didn't talk to me about it. So as I'm reading this message that he's sending to one of his friends, I'm in tears because I'm like, Kyle, why didn't you talk to me? Now, and I kind of knew the answer too, because I'm completely holistic. I don't subscribe to Western medicine at all. I know that the body is able to heal itself. So I really feel he didn't have that conversation with me because he knew how I felt about Western medicine. But honestly, I would have said to Kyle, he's 29 years old. I would have said, Kyle, you have to follow your own heart and do what you feel is best for you. But I was crying because he didn't at least have the conversation with me. So that I was in my bedroom crying. And then I went out to my office, which is right outside of my bedroom is my office. I went to my office to get on the computer to do something. I can't remember what I was about to do, but my computer was on Facebook and it wouldn't let me move away until I actually looked at what was on the screen. So my computer froze. And here's the thing. I run a daily maintenance program on my computer every day and a weekly maintenance that's even deep clean, meaning I keep my computer cleaned of anything that could make it freeze daily. And so for my computer to freeze was totally unusual. And at first I'm getting frustrated. Why is this computer frozen? Then I look up at the screen and on Facebook, this is what was in my Facebook feed. This message right here. Sometimes I wish I could go back and tell myself what I know now. I know in that moment, my computer froze, and it froze because Kyle was answering my question. My question to Kyle was, why didn't you talk to me? And his response, sometimes I wish I could go back and tell myself what I know now. So that was my first message from Kyle. Okay, now moving on. Now, when Kyle transitioned, I knew I wanted a reading with a medium, but I did not go looking for a medium. I said to myself, I will not go looking for a medium. That medium has to find me. Now, I launched my show 6 months after Kyle's transition, and I had a lot of guests that was into the science of oneness, because that was my focus, the science of oneness. And I didn't know if I had no idea I was going to actually start having mediums and channels on my show. So I launched my show early in 2015. Somewhere around early 2016, one of my guests recommended Suzanne Giesemann to be a guest on my show. I went to her website. I was very impressed with what I saw, and I invited her to be a guest on my show. So Suzanne Giesemann is a medium, an evidential medium, and a channel. She channels her spirit team by the name of Sanaya. So I invited Suzanne. She was my guest in May of 2016. And after I did a show with Suzanne, I knew she was the medium I wanted to have a reading with. Now, at that time, she had a waiting list that was 18 months long. I said to her, after we recorded the show and the show aired, I said to her, just put me at the bottom of your waiting list. I definitely want a reading with you. And so she said she would. Now, November comes around, and it's a week before Kyle's birthday. And again, this particular year, 2016, Kyle's birthday falls right on Thanksgiving Day. So I email. So it's a week before Thanksgiving, a week before Kyle's birthday. I email Suzanne and I say, I'm thinking a lot about Kyle. His birthday's coming up next week. That's pretty much all I said in the email. She emailed me right back. Now that surprised me in itself, because she gets hundreds of emails. So I didn't expect to get an email right back from her. She emails me right back and says, we're going to do a reading on his birthday. And I said, Suzanne, that's Thanksgiving Day. I don't want to take you away from your family on Thanksgiving Day. And she emails me back and says, I was told. So she was told by Sanaya, her spirit team, that I'm going to do a reading for a mom that has a son in spirit on Thanksgiving Day. She didn't know who that mom was until she got my email. When she got my email, she knew that her team, her spirit team, said she was doing this reading. So so that's how that happened. So I was like, okay. And so she gifted me a reading on Kyle's birthday on Thanksgiving Day. And now this reading was more than amazing. So I'm gonna actually play for you some audio clips from this reading. Okay, so Suzanne, this is my very first reading. So I had no idea what to expect. So Suzanne invites Kyle in, and you'll hear. I'm going to play audio clip for you.
You go, and then when we really lock in the connection with him, then you ask him any questions you want. Okay. All right. So here we go. Now, what's that sound all of a sudden? Do you hear it?
No.
You don't hear it?
No.
Wow. You'll hear it on the recording. It was this whooshing sound. As soon as I said, here we go, it was really distracting. You'll hear it on my audio recording. Okay. And here it comes again. You guys got to hold that down. Wow. Okay. So I don't want to be distracted by that, so cut that out. Okay. It is very distracting, though. Okay, here we go.
It's interesting. I don't hear it.
You don't hear it? Okay. Okay. All right.
Now, like I said, she does hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of readings. This had never happened to her before. And live, she does say you'll hear it on the audio recording. Live, I could not hear a thing, and you can hear it loud as day, but live, only she could hear it. I couldn't hear it. So as soon as she invited Kyle in to the conversation, there was this loud whooshing sound that she had never experienced before. And this is my first reading, so of course I never experienced anything like this. And I couldn't even hear it. That was the crazy thing. I couldn't even hear it live. Okay. Now I'm going to bring, now, as I shared with everybody, I shared that Kyle transitioned due to complications from the open heart surgery, but I never go into details. I've never written it. I've never said it to anyone. What actually caused Kyle to transition? I never said it. So she could not have found that information anywhere but from Kyle. And you're going to hear it in a minute. And so there's two things that you're going to hear in this next audio that I'm going to play.
That's how that feels. There's a little bit of trouble breathing, and the word embolism comes up. Okay. And let's go. This feels like he's trying to show me some things that may have happened at the end. I don't normally hear embolism, but they may have had some problem with clots.
Yes. Yes.
You did? Okay.
Yes.
Wait till you hear this sound. I've never heard it coming through my computer. It's a vibrational thing. And he says he's doing it. He's messing with the electronics. Well, you can cut it out then. We got you. Unless you want to give us some electronic voice, EVP would be awesome. Never heard that. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I heard a sound there. It might have been your laugh, but it gave me the image of a very small, white, fluffy dog. Do you have a fluffy white dog, or you've had one?
Had one. She's crossed over.
Yeah, well, he's holding her like this. And so she's fine, Mom. And so am I.
Wow. Now that is so awesome right there. Okay, here's the thing. Kyle was trying to talk through her computer. And there's this thing called EVP, electronic voice phenomena. I'd never heard of it. She had heard of it, but she had never experienced it. And you hear where she says, unless you're trying to give us some EVP. So when she said that in the reading, that went right over my head because I'd never heard of it and I had no idea what she was talking about. But that's exactly what was happening. Kyle was trying to communicate himself. He was trying to talk through her computer, and you could hear it clearly, this whooshing sound. Now you also hear, if you listen closely, you also hear a little dog's bark. Now I didn't hear it when it happened, but she did. She said, I'm getting this in, well, I don't know if she heard the bark, but she saw Kyle holding, like you would hold a baby, a little white dog. My little Coco transitioned in the late summer of 2007, and I felt so guilty when Coco transitioned. I always thought, now she was an older dog. She was about 15 or 16 years old, but I still thought it was my fault. I thought I could have done something. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of guilt when my Coco passed. And Coco came in with Kyle just to let me know she's fine. Here, I have Coco's picture. Oh, it's right here. Oh, actually it's taped. I can't get it. I was going to show you a picture. It's taped. But anyway, so that's amazing. You hear Kyle trying to talk through the computer and you hear Coco's bark. Now I have one more clip, and this is another audio clip that's amazing. In this next audio clip, you can actually hear Kyle's voice. You have to listen closely.
And just says that he knows that you would do anything to have him back, or you would even be just to be with him. But he says you still have a lot of work to do, and you're doing it. But it also feels like, I know he's saying that you feel like you're not doing enough, and he says, chill out, Mom.
Okay, so after she says doing it, you can actually hear Kyle's voice saying doing it. And I brought this to her attention. She didn't hear it during the reading, but 2 days after the reading, I said, Suzanne, listen to the audio right at this spot. And she listened and she was like, holy, she was amazed because she could hear Kyle's voice just as clear as I could hear it. And she called her husband's name is Ty. She called Ty and said, come Ty, listen to this. So it was so this reading was over the top amazing, because I have Kyle's voice from spirit from this reading. And it's the first time that has ever happened with Suzanne. Now I actually got a chance to meet Suzanne several times in person at different conferences. Here's a picture of me with Suzanne at the IANS conference from last August 2019. IANS stands for International Association of Near-Death Experiences. And she was a speaker last year, a keynote speaker last year and this year at this. And this year I was actually on a panel for this conference this past August. But I've gotten to meet her several times in person. And she says this has happened since Kyle was the first time the EVP happened in a reading, but she says it's happened about 8 times since. So now she's getting more EVP without trying to do it. It's just happening organically and naturally, which is that's just warms my heart, because it just, it was natural for Kyle to do his best to try to communicate with me. And it wasn't easy for him to do that from the other side. Moving on, I've met some amazing people as a host and producer of my show. Here's a Brazilian researcher by the name of Sonia Rinaldi. She is now a dear friend of mine. Here, a picture of me with Sonia at another conference called We Don't Die Conference in Boston last year. And Sonia is a researcher, and she's been researching communicating with our loved ones in the afterlife for over 30 years. And here's the research. Since I connected with her, Kyle has come to her. She has images of Kyle. Kyle has come to her several times. Now she publishes an e-magazine every other month or so. And in her e-magazine report number 17, here are 3 pages where she has images of Kyle. Now you can see where she has a photograph of Kyle, but you can see where the images, these are actually they're video that she gets images from. So you can see where the images from the video that she's getting from her computer, and the actual image of Kyle, a photo of Kyle next to it. Now, Kyle was 29 when he transitioned, but he's appearing younger. He's appearing as more like he's in his adolescent age or early teens. So these images appeared and she published them in report number 17. And then now another report, she's publishing more images of Kyle in report number, I think this is number 19. Yes, report number 19. You can see the images that she's getting. And exactly, I mean, she's amazing. You have to check out her work. You could go to her website, is ipati.org is her website, and find out more about her work. But she's amazing because she does all of this work for absolutely no cost, no fee, especially to parents that have children in spirit. She works with parents that have children in spirit, and she charges absolutely nothing. All of her work is nonprofit. She's amazing. I think I have some more images of Kyle. Now she's using a different medium this time. It's like an egg shaped thing, and the interesting thing, and then one of the pictures you can see it's Kyle clearly, but and he's looking over at someone else, another, we'll just say spirit, and but it's kind of like he's looking over at another spirit trying to say, this is my time with Sonia. You're honing in on my time. That's the expression on his face. And it's just, it amazes me how often he has come through to Sonia. And now this is actually from Zoom. Sonia was having a meeting with me and some other moms that have children in spirit. And before the meeting in Zoom, she recorded just a few minutes of a mist behind her. And during the meeting, she had the mist going the whole time behind her. And like I said, she analyzes the video frame by frame by frame by frame, which is very time consuming. But so before I had a meeting with her in Zoom, she came up she got this image. You can clearly see Kyle in the vapors. You can clearly see Kyle's image there. And so she published this in her next, she says Kyle again, because Kyle is showing up all the time. And I just love it. I love it. I love how often, and like I said, Sonia, and then she and I have become great friends, and she is doing amazing work. Matter of fact, from the work that she is doing, I truly believe that very soon, through technology, we will be able to communicate with our loved ones on the other side. It's so amazing. Okay. So I'm going to go back to who we actually are, because it's so important to understand we are not just the physical body. We are unique holographic aspects of all that is. And the uniqueness is important to understand, especially now, especially 2020, when there's so much polarity, so much divisiveness going on in the world, especially on social media. But here's the thing, we are unique. We are all God in a drop, and God wants to experience everything through us. So, all 7.5 billion people on the planet is God experiencing life in its unique perspective. So, it's not about agreeing. It's about honoring another person. I can sit down with someone who has completely opposite beliefs and ideas and perspectives than I do. And I can have a conversation with that person. And at the end of the day, they may not agree with one word I am expressing, and I may not agree with one word they're expressing. I say this and I want to smile because I've actually had that conversation today. I had that conversation today. But at the end of the day, it's not about who's right and who's wrong. There is no right and wrong in oneness. There just is. And it's not about trying to. Now, if you feel the need to debate, argue, or fight, that means you're trying to impose your belief and your perspective onto another person. Instead of saying, okay, I see your perspective is very different than mine, and we can agree to disagree, and I still love you, and I see you are a unique aspect of all that is. You are a unique aspect of God, no matter what your beliefs are, no matter how they differ from mine. I still honor you as a unique aspect of God. That is the true meaning of unity within diversity. Our diversity, our differences is the spice of life, and it should make us stronger, not weaker. It should not pull us apart. It should bring us together in a way that we can honor and love each other for exactly who they are. So I just find that so many people don't understand that, especially in the atmosphere we're living in right now. So we are all unique pieces of the puzzle, and we all have to come together because we all hold a piece of the puzzle and we're all equally needed. No two snowflakes are alike. No two human beings are alike, and they're not supposed to be. Which, when you understand who we truly are as one, we can love everyone on the planet, no matter what they believe. It's about love and respect, and it's about sharing in love and respect. All perspectives are valid. All religions, at the core of all religions, I personally do not subscribe to any one religion, because I do believe that all religions are, at the core of all religions is oneness and love, the law of one, and that we are, ancient wisdom teaches us that at the core, if you study religions and you go way back to their where they originated, it talks about oneness. So it's not about religion. Sometimes can divide us because people would say, well, my religion is right and your religion is wrong. No, 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 no. It is not about right. It's not about wrong. It's all about different perspectives, and all 7 billion people on the planet have a different perspective, and all perspectives are valid. So we have to learn to love and honor each other. We don't have to agree. What resonates with you, live your truth. What resonates with them, allow them to live their truth. And when you allow another person to be exactly who they are, that is the best way of showing them love, allowing them to be who they are. The Little Soul in the Sun. I love this little book. I have a grandson, and now he actually reads this to me. I used to read it to him. Now he reads it to me. Now, The Little Soul in the Sun is a great children's book that was written by Neil Donald Walsh. But in this book, it tells us that before we came into this life experience, we actually asked other souls to be mean to us, actually, to help wake us up. The person in your life that drives you crazy, that person is your greatest blessing. That person is the person you ask to come with you into this life experience and to remind you who you are. This goes back to our greatest challenges. So our greatest challenges are our greatest blessings. The people that give us the most difficulty in life are our greatest blessings as in people form, because we actually asked them to do what they did to us. It was all our plan. It was all a soul plan that we had before we came into this incarnation. Okay, the truth of oneness is when you look into someone's eyes. This is how you know, and you're living the truth of oneness. When you look into someone's eyes and all you see is God as a reflection of you, because you know that other is God. And you also know that other is not separate from you, and that they are also a reflection of you as God. So the counting it all joy that you count. I love the phrase in the Bible, count it all joy, because it's the destination and the journey are the same. And it's all our creation. Life is happening through us, not to us. I see Noel. Yes. And I am going to now stop sharing. Okay. Stop. Okay. Hey, Noel. How are you, sweetie?
I am awesome. That was, I really appreciated that presentation. And it's so funny. Okay, can I tell you a few things how I weave in with it? I got to meet Suzanne Geisman many times down in Florida.
Awesome.
She'd work a whole room. And so I've been following her for quite a while. So it's kind of interesting. She's written some amazing books.
Uh-huh.
I loved your presentation, everything about your journey with Kyle. It's going to be shared with so many. And thank you so much, Caroline. I changed your name there so people would have your website, awake2onenessradio.org, where
Yes.
she has many fabulous conversations. She doesn't do interviews,
Right.
right?
Conversations. Yes.
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 So thank you very much, Caroline. We love you and we look forward to seeing you in DC perhaps.
Yes. Thank you. Love you guys. Thank you so
Love you.
much. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye for
Bye-bye.
now. Bye-bye.